Wolfenstein, The Man in the High Castle, Fatherland. These are three different ways that people have tried to portray what the world would look like had the Axis powers won the Second World War. But how do we know if they are accurate or not? Do any of these formats accurately portray what the world would look like? Well, today we are going to explore that very possibility. I'm your host, as always, TheBlueBadger, and today I'm going to launch the first episode of my Axis Victory series for the game Darkest Hour or Hearts of Iron game. Now, I'll start things off by basically explaining what this game is. The best way to describe this game is a massive what-if scenario for the Second World War. It's that basically you could play as any different country in the world. Like, obviously, like, all these ones here are portrayed already, but you could play as any of the countries that happen to be on the map. So if you wanted to play as, like, Iran, Mongolia, Norway, any country you can play as. And there are also different, like, starting points too. Like, you could start, like, in 1945, when the war actually broke out in 1939, or you can even start in World War I if you wish. However, for this particular playthrough, I'm going to start here in 1936. And of course, like, I was looking through all the different countries here, and for this particular playthrough, I'm going to be playing as Germany. Basically the strongest of all the Axis powers, and in my opinion, one of the most fun countries to play as in this game. So, I'll launch the game here, and then I'll go through just the basics of the game itself. Okay, so here we are then. Like, as you can see, I'm playing as Germany, like I said before, and I'll just zoom out to show you what the game map looks like. So, essentially the game is set up to show what the world looked like back at this very point in time. And as I mentioned before too, you can play as any of the countries that are on this map. So even if, like, these countries show up later in the game, you can play as them as well. But this game actually is pretty complex though, because you get to choose exactly what you get to do. Like, for example, as Germany, like, I could choose whether or not to actually go to war with Poland or not and initiate the start of World War II. I could choose not to do that. One other crazy what-if scenario that I have heard of in the past is one instance where somebody took Canada here and turned it into a major military powerhouse. Like, the guy transformed it into a vast state and decided to invade the United States. His main invasion force was said to go through here. They were able to get as far south as New York, but eventually American industry and manpower just overwhelmed him, and eventually he was defeated. And one other crazy example that I did too, I played as the Soviet Union in this particular playthrough, and as Germany was invading France of the Low Countries, I invaded Germany. And needless to say, the war ended pretty quickly, as I was able to overwhelm most of the German forces. However, since most of my units weren't really all that advanced, per se, I did take a lot of casualties in that little war. But there are also different resources too that you have to keep an eye on as you're going through. Like, up here, you can just see some of the different resources that you have to collect. First, there's energy, which basically helps to fund all sorts of industries. And then other resources include metals, rare materials, oil, supplies, and money. And then of course you have, like, your manpower, the amount of nuclear bombs you have. Like, this goes up depending on if you've researched the proper items for it. Various dissent inside the country. The amount of transportation capacity too is here. Like, the max amount that you have, and then the amount that's currently being used. And then industrial capacity too. Like, this side shows the amount of industry that I have, and then this is the amount of industry that I have with the modifiers added to it. Like, for example, there will be some modifiers that improve the efficiency, which give you even more. And then, like, the red here shows the amount of industry that I haven't really been using yet. And then of course I have like the intelligence tab where I can like do smear campaigns, launch coups, destroy nuclear weapons in opposing countries, and so forth. Then this is the tech tree. Here I'll be doing all sorts of research, and actually I'll just start doing that too as I'm talking here. But going through this, like, I can work on industries, improve my armies, and do secret weapons such as like rocketry, nuclear weapons, so forth. So just a moment here, I'll just go through and do everything in this part just so that we can get started then as soon as I'm done. But I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, but yeah, basically I do all my research on this tab, and then this is where it'll show like the basic economy. Like, here are the basic areas that I need to cover, like consumer goods. It'll determine how much money I get, as well as like the change of descent, the production cap, which basically means all the different like ships, tanks, all that good stuff to build my armies, the amount of supplies that I get, the amount of reinforcements that get to my various units, and then the upgrades as well to it. And I'm just gonna adjust it here a little bit. I don't need that many supplies. And yeah. And I'm just gonna check this here. Just gonna change it a little bit. One neat thing about this game too is that when you actually start the game off, it actually gives you a little bit of the things that the countries were actually developing at this point in history, which I think is pretty neat. I'm actually going to cancel that. Yeah, that should do it. And then this is like where I can do diplomacy if I wish, like liberate different countries, and then just basic statistics here. Alright, so that's just the... oh yeah, I almost forgot. And then here's like I could change the different like map types too. Like this one shows the terrain, the various weather patterns, economics, supplies, partisan activity, regions, diplomacy, and then victory points, which are essentially areas that are a little more valuable and will definitely help you if you want to defeat a country or not. I'll usually keep it on the political map here, just so that it's easier to see what's going on. So, I'm going to start things off here with the remilitarization of the Rhineland. Just move some forces in. So, oop, almost forgot. Change policy here. I'm going to move it that way. Towards the Hawk lobby. After all, we are going to be going to war here soon. Actually, how does this look? Okay. Yeah, that's to be expected. With that a little more. Not too much, though. We only have 2 days then until that's done. Yeah, that should do it. The reoccupation of the Rhineland. Section 3 of the Treaty of Versailles forbid Germany to construct or maintain any fortifications or armed forces on the left bank of the Rhine, or on the right bank to the west of a line drawn 50 kilometers to the east of the Rhine. Once the home front was secured, Hitler turned his attention to foreign policy with 4 increasing daring acts. On March 16, 1935, the Treaty of Versailles was violated by Germany as military conscription was reintroduced. The treaty stated that the German army could not exceed 100,000 men. When nothing more than official protests from England and France ensued, Hitler proclaimed a year later, March 7, 1936, to occupy the demilitarized Rhineland, again violating the treaty. So, once again, that is done. And then I am also going to launch this one then. The repudiate of the Locarno Treaties. The Locarno Treaties were 7 agreements signed in 1925 in which the Western Allied powers and the new states of Central and Eastern Europe sought to secure the post-war territory settlement and return normalizing relations with defeated Germany. Locarno divided borders in Europe into 2 categories: Western, which are guaranteed by the Locarno Treaties, and eastern borders of Germany with Poland, which were open to revision, thus leading to Germany renewed claims on the Free City of Danzig and Polish territories including Upper Silesia. The Locarno Treaties were regarded as the keystone of the improved Western European diplomatic climate of 1924 to 1930, introducing a hope for international peace, typically called the Spirit of Locarno. The Spirit is seen as Germany's admission to the League of Nations, and in the subsequent withdrawal, completed in June of 1930, of Allied troops from Germany's Western Rhineland. However, diplomatic relations with Germany worsened after the death of Stresemann, and with the rise to power of Hitler. The Locarno Treaties were then heavily undermined by the Franco-Soviet Treaty of Mutual Assistance, and on March 2, 1935, which Germany viewed as a violation of its spirit, Germany formally repudiated its Locarno undertaking by sending troops into the demilitarized Rhineland on March 7, 1936. And essentially what this does is that it essentially lays claims to this whole region here. So basically the Alsace-Lorraine region, Luxembourg, and Eupen, I think that's called? At any rate, yeah. I'm just gonna check that here. Okay. Let's keep going here. So, starting here will probably be a little boring, except the next thing that's really going to happen is the outbreak of the Spanish Civil War here. And we'll get a closer idea into that. And one other thing too will most likely happen will be the Japanese invasion of China and the launch of the Sino-Japanese War over there. But yeah, at the moment, just gonna really focus on all this stuff. Oh, I'm actually gonna enable auto spying there. That way my spies will do things automatically. One thing too that actually is important to note is that even though Darkest Hour isn't the most recent of the Hearts of Iron series that Paradox Interactive has created, the reason why I decided to play this Axis Victory series on Darkest Hour rather than Hearts of Iron 4 is actually just simply because I find this map to be a little more detailed. Like there are... Oh, I should probably get increased conscription. Yeah. It's that there are more territories in this particular game than in Hearts of Iron 4, so it's just easier to produce a map of what the world would look like had the Axis won. So, yeah. So, that's why, just in case any of you were curious about that. Alright. So sometime soon, the war in Spain here should break out. And once that does, I'll take control of Franco's Spanish forces and we'll be able to control that war ourselves. How are we doing on technology here? Good. Sir, so far doing alright. And you'll see why I'm recruiting naval units here. Well, not necessarily recruiting, but researching them. They'll be highly beneficial to us in the future. Alright. I'm going to take a break here, then I'll come back in once the war breaks out. Actually, I take that back. I just remembered, actually, that there is one war going on here, actually, the Italian invasion of Ethiopia here, so... Well, I'm actually going to turn off the fog of war here. That way we can actually just watch it. Just see how they go. Looks like they've begun fighting over the capital. This war is pretty much over. China's created a puppet. Yeah. Let's start producing some of the basic fundamentals for nuclear devices. I'm going to be going into a nuclear arms race with the United States. See if I can't produce a nuclear device before they can. So, oh, and there we go. The war in Ethiopia has come to an end. And turn the fog off then. And the anti-Comintern Pact. The destabilizing influence from the Comintern was a constant worry for many world leaders. In 1937, Germany sought agreements with Italy and Japan for a 5-year period to share information and assist each other in containing communist influence. Yeah, I'll start that. Yeah, basically the Comintern is one of the 3 different factions that you can play as in this game. Well, or a part of anyways. The Comintern are basically all the communist countries in the game, led by the Soviet Union. And then the other 2 are the Western Allies, which are basically the democracies of like France, Britain, and the United States. And then, of course, there's the Axis, which is led by Germany, and will include Italy and Japan. Oh, one of our ministers died. Yeah, he will be missed. So, what are we doing here? Reinforcements are starting to get down to the very end that are needed here. And it looks like information infantry is about done. Trying to remember which war breaks out first, the war in China or the war in Spain. Oh well, we'll find out soon enough. Alright. Research next level of infantry there. Alright. Ah, good, we're starting to get down to the area here. Let's start lowering that. Until September, when most of the infantry units here are done. Oop. Ah, product standardization is done. Just researching some mining techniques. Oop. Hello. Ah, the Spanish Civil War has officially started.